What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is going to be a review for Runway, Project Runway. Lord, my brain went. Project Runway season 18 episode 9. So look, this review might be a little all over the place because I have a lot to say and not necessarily in any type of order. So I'm just going to roll with it and we're going to keep it moving. So this particular challenge was a tuxedo challenge. And so, of course, everybody's making suits. So we're doing menswear. Now, this is the challenge where usually you find out there's always designers that are more comfortable making men's clothes than women's clothes. And this is where either this makes or breaks them because the judges are expecting to see, boom, because that's what they said that they could make, right? So, what I did not know, did y'all know that the difference between a suit and a tuxedo was satin? So, like, any suit that has satin somewhere on it, Christian said it could be the lapel, it could be a stripe down the side, it could be the cummerbund, whatever. If it has satin on it, then it is considered a tuxedo. Did not know that. Always wanted to know what the difference was. Didn't know that that's all it was. Like, there's no particular cut or whatever. Okay, cool. So, what they did for this, it's a 2-day challenge, and they gave them a really big budget. I want to say they had like $600 because, of course, it's the tuxedo challenge. They want it to be elegant. They want it to be tailored. They want it to be all these wonderful things. So for this particular challenge, they brought back the eliminated designers to pair up. Now, normally in the past, they always let the designer pick which person they want to work with. They reversed it this time, and they let the eliminated people pick who they wanted to work with. Thought it was very interesting, and I kind of like how it played out. So we had Victoria. Well, I'll go in order. The first person to pick was... Shit, I don't remember. Anyway, let's just go on down. We have Victoria and Alan. That ain't right. Yeah, Victoria Allen. Sergio and Veronica, Delvin and Tyler, Marquise and Shavi, Brittany and Jen, Jeffrey and Melanie, Nancy and Chelsea. Now, what was interesting is that the last person was Victoria. The last person to get picked to work with was Victoria. I thought it would be Sergio, but it was not. So that lets me know that Victoria is starting to make some, I ain't gonna say enemies because enemy is a strong word, it ain't that serious, but people are definitely seeing her personality as being, something that they don't want to deal with. We get to mood, and immediately I start worrying about Delvin. Okay, I'm gonna say this: I am very happy to see that Delvin is coming. I'm sorry, y'all. That Delvin is coming out of his shell. Delvin is coming out of his shell. He's smiling more. We see him laughing and joking. He's interacting with the other contestants more. Whereas before, I thought he was just going to be this standoffish, sort of snobby. What I'm realizing is that he's not snobby as much as it's his personality, not as much. You know what I mean? However, I think that he's getting in his head. He's starting to not trust himself and second guess himself, and that's going to get him in trouble. This was your strong point. This is what you learned. This is what you've been trained in, and they got to mood, and the first thing he did was he picked up a powder blue material. Now, when I think of a powder blue suit, I immediately think of cheesy 1980s prom tux. That's what immediately comes to my mind. However, because that is where you went first, Delvin, because that is what your mind led you to, you should have stuck with that. Because even though Christian second guessed it, Tyler sort of second guessed it, hell, I even second guessed it, but there was something that drew you to that material, and maybe you'd have been able to turn it, you know what I'm saying, and turn that look. But he changed it up. He went with the a forest green color. And it was like a heavier material. And he said he had worked with that material a lot. But we'll get back to him. Marquise, he's a menswear designer. He's done men's collections, and he's definitely a lot more comfortable. He was all there for it. He was ready to make it rock and roll. And he came up with this great concept to do sort of a faux skirt thing where it was pants, but then it was a part skirt. And it could have very easily turned into a mess. But I thought he did a good job with it. We'll get there. Like I said, y'all, I'm kind of all over the place, but we'll get there. Sergio decided to do a backwards tuxedo. Now, the minute he said a backwards tuxedo, the first thing I thought of was Celine Dion. Who doesn't know about Celine Dion's iconic backwards tuxedo that she wore years ago? Sergio. Mr. I am fashion. I know fashion. Fashion is me. None of these other designers have anything on me. This fool had the nerve to say, I'm doing something different and out of the box because nobody else has ever done that before. And I'm thinking, yeah, they did. And even if Celine Dion had never done it, I want to say that we've seen that on the show before, that somebody did a backwards. Matter of fact, hell, earlier this season, Nancy did a backwards blouse. Like, it's not that. But he thought, he thought he was doing the damn thing. We'll get back to him, child. We'll get back to him. Then he was saying how he didn't have a story. He didn't have a political story because he was working with Melanie. I mean, not Melanie. He was working with Veronica. And Veronica was like, well, what's the story? And he was like, I don't even know yet. I'm not sure what the story is yet. But then I'm going to tell you what story he came up with, child. Anyway. Victoria is making the same fucking dress. It's the asymmetrical silhouette, except for this time she added a garter, she added a split, and it was very sexy and it looked very nice. But it was the same silhouette. The only difference was she did, well, not the only difference. There were a few differences, but I'm just saying, as a whole, I still don't feel like she gave me a whole lot different. This, instead of the cut out, the peekaboo on the side, she had the back out. It was a beautiful dress. Don't get me wrong. It was a beautiful dress, and it was nicely made. But again, I do not feel like Victoria is pushing herself. And it made me remember that episode where Victoria was getting done so quickly, and she was saying how people who, move slow frustrate her, and she does, da-da-da. And I'm like, I guess you do move fast because you're making the same thing over and over again. You're not doing anything different. You know what to put here, what to put there, what stitch to use, what this, what that, because you're making the same general idea over and over again. You're not pushing yourself. Brittany did the exact opposite. She called herself trying something different and going outside of her comfort zone and outside the box. And we'll figure out how that worked out for her. So after the first day, they ended up going out for drinks. And, which, on one hand, it's like, oh my gosh, we can't afford drinks. You know what I mean? Not money-wise, but we need time. We need our rest. But again, it was a great time to see them reconnect with the people who had already been eliminated, get to know them a little bit better. Some people had been eliminated the first week or the second week, and they didn't really get a chance to really get to talk to each other. And so I thought that was a great opportunity. They looked like they were having a good time. You guys, I'm very nervous and very worried about Jeffrey. We saw here what Jeffrey was saying, that basically this is his last chance. This is his last shot. And if this doesn't work out, he doesn't know what he's going to do. He was crying and very emotional. And I'm not going to lie, y'all, it made me a little nervous about, I've always been a little nervous about Jeffrey. But I just didn't like, he was very emotional. So I don't know, y'all. I just that conversation didn't really sit well with me. It just didn't. The next morning, they ended up having breakfast with, Sebastian, the winner from last season, and basically he was just giving them some advice and just telling them, like, trust your instinct and be prepared. His whole world changed after the show, and it was a good conversation. He had breakfast, and then the design, everybody came in because it was just the people who were still on the show. It wasn't the eliminated people. There was a situation where we had another sort of moment where the other designers were being disrespectful towards Nancy. And I can only think that it comes back to her age and them just not respecting that she is on their level of a designer. They were talking about her. She could hear them. She overheard the whole conversation. And I just thought it was just really, and even my boy Delvin was a part of it. And I just thought it was disrespectful. She's still there for a reason. Now, is she making the best garments? Clearly, the judges think that her garments aren't the worst because other people have gone home before her. She's even won a challenge, I believe, or she definitely has been in the top. So I feel like, some of y'all that were talking trash, like y'all been in the bottom before. So I don't know what makes y'all think that y'all so much better than Nancy and what Nancy's doing. Even the fact that Nancy made these pants she'd made those pants before, but hell, Victoria make the same damn outfit every week, and the judges don't seem to have no problem with that. But they did call Nancy out for her pants. Anyway, we're gonna get there. We also had male, female, and non-binary models. And let me tell you about Marquise's model, baby. Marquise's model had everybody in the workroom drooling, including Christian, okay? Christian was even like, ooh, I like this challenge. I like having men in the workroom. I said, okay, Christian, I see you. I see you flirting. I see you with your eye on the washboard abs, baby. Because that was a beautiful specimen of a man, honey. I don't know how do you even build that body? Oh my gosh, that body was everything. What? Anyway. So Brittany's, her little twist was that she did shorts. I feel like this was the third time that Brittany has done shorts. So it wasn't great. Didn't really work out too well. The execution was really bad. The basics were bad. The judges tore her up. Oh, there was no top and bottom this week. Everybody got a critique. So Brittany was in the bottom. I mean, as far as nobody was safe, I should say. There were tops and bottoms, but nobody was safe. Brittany was on the bottom. Sergio had the backwards tux, and then he's up there and he's telling his story that the backwards tux was symbolic of our government and everything being backwards. And then he told the story of that he thinks that that his tux is reminiscent, that the backwards of where we are and we need to go, that right now we're living in make America great again, and we need to go back to his tux is reminiscent of a better time in our country, the 1950s, and how it was just everything was cheaper then and people were more prosperous then and things worked better then. And what's the face on the panel, the black woman that's the judge, was like, maybe for you, but not for me. And I found that to be very offensive, that you would say that the 1950s was better for people in the 1950s than they were for me. She was like, for people of color, it was not. And again, Sergio, 2 weeks ago, you were claiming all up in your Latin roots, and you were a person of color, and you were this and you were that. How could you think the 1950s were better for anybody of color in this country? And I'm glad that she called him out on it. And I'm glad she got his ass all the way together. Then they got him together for that damn tux, because he tried to say that his tux was this and his tux was that. And they were like, well, you do know that Celine Dion did that already, right? You know that that's not an original concept. He gonna say he wasn't familiar with it. You ain't never seen Celine Dion. I'm not even in fashion. I'm not even a fashionista. And I know that iconic look. Like, I know Celine Dion did that backwards tuxedo years ago at the Oscars. I know that. And then he gonna say later on, well, I mean, I was just in middle school. See, no, don't do that. Because, see, 2-3 weeks ago, if you knew something somebody else didn't know, you'd be questioning whether they were even good enough to be on the show, because how could you not know that? How could you not be familiar with that? It's such an iconic part of fashion history. Ooh, Sergio, ooh, you tried it. Ooh, you tried it. Delvin made this green, I wrote in my notes, elf corset. It was a green suit. He had a corset on the waist, and it just didn't work, Delvin. I'm sorry. I love you. I want to see you do well. But the corset, boo, was not the answer. And the judges did not like it either. He was in the bottom. Now, after all of that, Sergio was in the top, child. But you know they wasn't going to let him win. But he was in the top. Hold on. Victoria was in the top. They really liked her. They really liked her because they said it was sexy. She had the whole garter belt and everything, and she thought it was sexy. Oh, I forgot to say, in the workroom, honey, Victoria wouldn't let Alan touch a pair of damn scissors. The only thing she did let the boy make was the garter belt, and then she stood over him while he did that like he couldn't make a damn garter belt. I said, he ended up helping another designer child because he was like, I mean, you're not gonna let me do nothing. I'm just gonna sit here. And he was like, I do know how to sew. Like I'm not like I'm here for a reason. Hello. Jeffrey did a jumpsuit tuxedo, which I thought was really cute. I thought it was really in line with Jeffrey's aesthetic. But again, I'm going to caution Jeffrey, with just like everybody else, you've made a jumpsuit about 3 or 4 times now. I know you like it. I know it fits your aesthetic. I know the judges like it. But you're going to have to do something different. We are getting down to the point where there are no more free passes. They're no more safe. Everybody's getting a critique. And now because we're getting down to the nitty gritty, we are critiquing everything. I mean, if a hemline is off, if, they are critiquing it all. Nancy, I loved Nancy's print, and she did that wide leg pant and everything, but the judges did not like it. She was in the bottom, honey. Jeffrey, I think, was sort of, if they were doing a safe, Jeffrey would have been safe, because I don't think they really had him at the top, but they didn't really have him at the bottom either. The one thing they didn't like, he did this whole bow tie thing, and they really wasn't feeling the bow tie. But other than that, I think that they were okay with Jeffrey's look. I don't think they were overly wowed by it, but I don't think they hated it either. The guest judge was Tom Brown, who is like an award-winning men's designer. And here's where my fashionista, they clearly love him because they were all, honey, they were like, oh my gosh, it's Tim. So I mean Tom. So now top, it came down to in the top, it came down to Marquise, Victoria, and like I said, Sergio was at the top. But again, child, he wasn't going to get that one. After that, Make America Great Again speech, that Make America Great Again speech, honey, he wasn't going to get that anyway. But it ended up being Marquise. So I love it. Marquise went from being eliminated to get a redemption to winning a challenge. And he said, look, if all the rest of the challenges were menswear, baby, I'd be in there like swimwear. So that is definitely his forte. Oh, I didn't yes, I did. I said. So I liked his design as well. I thought it was very well executed. And I could definitely see someone who's very gender bending, somebody like a Billy Porter, or someone who's very bold with their fashion choices. I definitely could see them wearing that. Like it was runway ready. Like, and I'm going to put the picture at the end of the video. So y'all be ready to see it at the end of the video. Anyway. The bottom two, it came down to Brittany and Nancy. And I was actually surprised that Brittany actually was the one that got eliminated. Brittany got eliminated over Nancy. I thought Nancy would have gotten eliminated. However, they felt like Brittany's outfit was more of a disaster. And like I said, honey, there are no more free passes. At this point, it's not about, oh, well, she won this many times and all that. They don't care about none of that. It's week to week, baby, and it's like a fresh slate. There are no more immunities, none of that. We getting into the nitty gritty. However, something was telling me that this was a little different. Christian ended up using his save on Brittany. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm okay with that. I do feel like Brittany has shown us more good than bad. I think Brittany has shown us that she is a good designer. I think she just definitely got out of her head. I mean, got in her head this time and went left instead of right. So she's still in the competition and there is no more save. So at this point, baby, there's no more possibility. There's no more keeping it in my back pocket. I think at this point, if anybody quit or left, I don't think they would do it. I don't think they would bring anybody back. They might though, because they kind of have to. But anyway, y'all, that was that. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Did you agree? Did you disagree? How did you feel about it? And like I said, I will put the winning look right